No, there's not gonna be a long intro about what day the PS2 came out on and what cereal I ate for breakfast that day, so let's get straight into the games. I picked the Western launch titles obviously if you take a look at the measly launch lineup in Japan. That is worse than the Wii U's. Unless you are a big fan of trains, I'm not, I hate being on a train. Actually, sometimes it can be pretty relaxing, if it's not full. I'm gonna start with the game that made me want to play more of it the most since I gave them half an hour, sometimes a bit more or a bit less. The game I would have loved to have as a kid for release because it feels I could have spent tons of hours in it. Eternal Wing, and nowadays people already know it's made by From Software. Back then they still flew under the radar though. It's basically Kingsfield but more about wings, even if I haven't found too many of those yet. Ever had one that you couldn't get off anymore? That shit scared me so much as a kid that I never put any wings onto my fingers anymore. No, I do not have fat fingers before you ask. Call me a shit gamer, but every time I tried the Kingsfield games, I even did a Shadow Tower Abyss let's play back in the day, I sucked at them. Maybe I wasn't in the best mental state for them since my wife cheated on me and they remind me of her. This one though, it feels like a baby version to ease you into them. So far at least, maybe the difficulty goes way higher eventually. Or maybe I just finally got good at games. You have to go to the Island of No Return, a very fun name. I would also totally go to an island with that name, and you're brought here by a fisherman with an Italian mobster goon accent.
That ladder, you'd be a lot better off doing it before nightfall.
It's a bit sad that he gets killed by a dragon, while you get attacked by crabs instead. So maybe this is one of those times where getting crabs is a good thing? You know what isn't a good thing to have? A micro penis, but that's what the game makes you experience. You see this cool sword I got, stabbing people straight out of Innsmouth with? Cool, right? But when you go to the village you have to trade in your sword to get a knife, because apparently that's how things work around here. Look at this dude, he surely would never betray me. That look on his face is what I would love to see when I go to the local penny market. And then look at my knife, it's shorter and also deals less damage. Almost as if the people here want me to die even though I'm helping out. Wanna hear another wing story? The Collect All Wings trophy was the last trophy I was missing for the Demon's Souls Platinum trophy back in the day on my old account before I had to make a new one because I forgot my password since I was too dumb and young when I first made it. So I couldn't put money onto it to buy Drakengard 3 with. Nowadays I own it digitally and physically. And I got the trophy only with the help of some dude online who traded it to me because I didn't want to do another New Game Plus playthrough and do the whole world tendency stuff for it either. Shoutouts to that person. I may have forgotten your name, but I will always remember you. In the background you could see me easily destroy the first boss of the game, which would have not worked like that in Kingsfield, I think. This really made me feel I should give those another shot because maybe I played them wrong. Since I played them like a pussy, maybe I gotta play as aggressively as here. Also, look at this cool cum dragon. Welcome to the little fighting game blog from a person who does not play fighting games often and absolutely sucks at them. You would own me all the time in them, probably. While in return I would own you in the skate games, probably. You memorized how to do a Hadouken with your silly motion inputs and I did not, but for that I know how to hit a fakey 360 pop shove it into a frontside feeble grind. And I'm better at Smash than you, probably. This is the point where you now have to write an angry comment about how it's not a real fighting game. You know what I love to do in fighting games? Jump. Everyone who is good at them knows, bro, stop jumping. That's very easy to see through. But you know what? I don't care. I want to jump at my opponents, so my real rating here is how well can you play these games as a jumper. Street Fighter X3 is a game you hear nobody talk about, almost as if it doesn't exist to most people. Or have you ever heard someone say that this is their favorite Street Fighter? No. Don't lie to me. For my little arcade mode playthrough I picked Sakura and look at how cute she is in her portrait and then look at her in the game. Kinda cute still, but it's not really making you say wow. Except for the many panty shots you will get to see if you pick her. So I made a good choice picking her since nowadays games are lacking those. Along the way you can battle your way through and add other characters to your team after you beat them and do tag battles, sometimes they even fight alongside you. Real teamwork. I never tagged them because I didn't know how to, unless I got owned. It didn't feel bad but also not great either, almost as if the game was trapped between the PS1 and PS2. During the credits you are also allowed to beat up a bunch of random characters and listen to this. Tekken Tag Tournament is not for me. The only other time I have played Tekken before was 3 and there I only played the volleyball mode with a friend. I even got told I won't have any luck here with my jumping technique, and they were right, I got my ass kicked by the CPU. because fighting games are kinda normally games you have to bite into. You need to sit down and check the move list. You have to learn the moves from the other characters and so many other things that they're just not suited for a quickie. My button smashing did not help me, for the most part. And jumping felt lame too. You can't be good at fighting games if you don't put in the time. That's how they are and should stay, to keep idiots like me away who just wanna press a button to do cool shit with. Unless they make a fighting game totally aimed at casuals. You know where it's really at though, Dead or Alive 2 hardcore. I surely wouldn't mind watching the girls from this franchise doing other hardcore things, which I actually have done often. Normally I'm not into all that 3D stuff, but those models those animators use, wow. 3D as in 3D models, not actual 3D women, 2D for life. I wonder how many people played this with their bros and got into awkward situations because they got a boner while playing it and tried to hide it. Or maybe the bros helped them out, I don't know. Some people do group masturbation, I think, I've read about that. It just feels so much more fluid than the other two as a noob. You can spam your buttons and you see your character do some crazy moves, while obviously a real pro at the game would smash the hell out of me. The only question I have is, must the blur be so intense in the fight against the Tengu? It's not because of emulation, because my fighting game pro friends told me this is supposed to happen, this is how it's supposed to look like. At least they made up for this Tengu fight when they created Neo Tengu, my wifey. Maybe I should crack my knuckles for one last dance to try to become good at a fighting game when Dead or Alive 7 drops so I can main her there, or marry Wows. Imagine getting beaten up by a little girl. It is time for a bunch of undesirables unlike you because you are desired, trust me. Games where I can't say much about them. For example, Swing Away Golf. It is golf, yep. I think this girl is pretty cute, but is cuteness important in golf? Actually it is, so go play the Panya games for the Wii. Normally I don't like golf, not even the Mario Golf games, but Panya actually made me enjoy golf because cute anime girls. Check this ultra nice put I put it in. If you love golf games, I guess you wouldn't have done much wrong to play this till everybody's golf came out eventually. You can even generate courses so you would never run out of them. They should play real golf on courses like this, maybe then they would actually appeal to younger people. NHL 2001, yep. I don't know either. I'm not Canadian or Swedish, so what's even the point of ice hockey to me? It's certainly an ice hockey game. The same could be said about Madden 2001. I didn't even bother to play that game. I remember when they made a video like this about the Wii launch and they also had Madden, and there the game just crashed. I'm not made for American football. I wish there would have been a real football game for the launch of the PS2, so I could have bragged about my ball knowledge in multiple ways. The only sport I actually follow and watch. Yes, I'm sorry for being a normie about football, but I can't help it, I was born into it. If you have a dad who's into football and you're a boy, or you can also be a girl, but it's less likely, you will probably be into football. And then there's also Wild Wild Racing. The wildest thing about this game are the loading times because holy shit. I sat there and contemplated my life for a while for the track to load, but then when it loaded I understood why, it's massive. Does that make it fun? No, but at least it has some kind of variety of places to pick from. It's normal to have a track from the USA, but Iceland? You don't see that every day. They also have a track in Canada that I picked. Aside from that, it felt super rubber bandy. I didn't play well, but every time I took someone over, they were sniffing my butt right after again. And this track was just a big ass construction site, like it could have been made in like fucking, I don't know. If you wanted a real racing game, you were better off going with Ridge Racer 5. I recorded a take where I do the iconic Ridge Racer bit like Cass did, but when I listened to it, I wanted to do very bad things to myself, so I had to discard it. I'm more of a Burnout 3 kind of guy, but this was still fun to play too. It has like that perfect mix between realism with an arcade feeling to it that I could still enjoy it. Even if the last qualification one made me think, how am I supposed to become first? But with each race I felt the feeling of wow, I'm becoming better and better. I finally know how to drive a car. This game made me want to buy the Scorpion jacket from Drive so I can look dumb as hell while driving a car, with a toothpick in my mouth, so that I can then also date a single mom. I always thought that movie is just about driving cars, and when I watched it I was like, oh, this is not really a lot of driving. Sure, he is driving, but he's also kind of spending a lot of time doing other more illegal things. Me driving would be illegal since I don't have a license. I think driving is one of those things you have to learn early in your life when you're more reckless, because when you're old and busted like me, you will think, wow, I will drive someone over, won't I? Maybe self-driving cars will become smart enough in my lifetime for me to just have one of those. Time Splitters 1 is like a fat person that everyone likes because of their personality. But you know, they could be an even better person if they lost all that weight. So they work out and suddenly become a supermodel and still have a great personality. That's what the jump from 1 to 2 and 3 is. It's not bad, but if you put it against the younger siblings, you would think, wow, that is quite a big jump. Like your mom having tons of different men, and they all have different looks to them, and it's easily seen in the kids. 2 and 3 are known for their humor, and that is still kinda here just by the animations of the characters, but one thing you will miss are the cutscenes and dialogue at points. You pick a mission, and the mission is as basic as it has to be. No real story to it except that you go in and grab the time crystals and try to leave. It's like the perfect game for people who hate the fluff of modern shooters. The levels are also way smaller, and some of them even became normal maps for the multiplayer in 2 and 3, like one of my favorite ones, the Chinese yummy food in my tummy place. It's basic and simple, but it's all you need in life sometimes, especially because it still plays so smoothly too. Unlike the PlayStation 2 port of Unreal Tournament, nobody can ever tell me a game like that or Quake are made for controllers, even with aim assist. That doesn't really exist here. I think people love Unreal Championship for the Xbox that came out a few years later, but even then you would prefer to play it with a mouse and keyboard, probably. I played a lot of Unreal Tournament 2004 back in the day, mostly mods though. I miss arena shooters sometimes, but do I really? I'm out and busted like I said earlier, and you can see it in the gameplay here. Or maybe shooters on consoles are just not made to be played without aim assistance. It still was a bit fun to make this fella blow up in tons of gory pieces with a rocket launcher and hearing the iconic voice lines that I mostly have heard in Counter-Strike. But shooter fans should have grabbed Time Splitters 1 for sure instead. Armored Core 2 is also a game for the sickos in a positive way. It's a game that does not deserve to get shoved to the side so quickly, but sometimes we all feel that way. Others just using you for a quick fix before they move on to the next person. Please don't try to puke when you see me trying to play this. Close your eyes if you're a super fan who could easily write me a 5-page essay of what I'm doing wrong. I tried playing them before and I just can't warm up to them. I love the aesthetic, I love mechas, but I do not like playing them, and that's fine. I even feel bad for people who love these games because there is nothing for them anymore. Not even From themselves gave them what they truly wanted. Nobody can tell me with a straight face that these games are even close to the skinwalker called Armored Core 6. That game is made for losers like me who wanna feel ultra cool inside of the mecha, instead of being made for people who wanna sit down and spend hours in menus and customize every single part of the mecha to perfection because it actually matters what you pick. Everyone says 3 times the charm, right? So From didn't just had 2 games ready for the Western launch, no, they had 3 with ever grace. A game that deserves way more than just a couple of minutes of me trying to joke about it. It's the kind of game that needs its own video, and maybe one day it will get that, especially since I've played it before. To a point where I got told to now play the game with the other character because I haven't played as them at all and turn it off to think, yep, I will do that tomorrow, just to never return to it. We all have been there, playing a game we enjoyed but then just somehow never played it again. Also, the game supports these sensitive button presses, where if you press it lightly or hard it does different attacks. So I would just put it onto my PlayStation 3 and play it on there to get the real experience of it, since emulators can't totally recreate that feeling. Older From games nowadays get a bit of the wow, look at all the out hidden gems they had before the Souls games, how did these games get such bad ratings? It was because they are lost in a sea of other games that made you think, huh, this is weird and neat. Games that nowadays do not get published anymore, while back in the younger generation some publishers just waved through tons of games without real mainstream appeal. So they didn't stick out too much because there was so much other stuff that was supposed to stick out too. The kind of specialness that even From themselves are lacking nowadays. They finally found the money printing mechanics machine and haven't let go of it. Back then, From already loved their games with the typical Fallen Kingdom storyline, but they had so much variety so it didn't feel like that's all they do. Now that's a different story. You can say they got that one VR game, but that's a VR game, so it already shut out like 99% of people. Like if you look at the list of games they have made recently, it's like, yeah, that's a lot of souls. Evergrace is the type of game that gets carried a bit by the aesthetic and music. You probably have heard at least the shop track of its OST once before in one of those worst video game soundtracks ever videos, even when it's not that bad. It's unique and I wouldn't listen to it too much outside of the game, but that sometimes is the point. Like I said, you can't describe this game in such a short way, so keep an eye out for me making a video about it, but only if you really want to. You don't have to watch it, Barker. And its sequel, which is a prequel. Fantavision, I like the name because I have the vision for Fanta because it's really tasty during summer right now, is a puzzle game where you make fireworks go kaboom and try to do the coolest show ever and lots of shank combos. Can't be made today anymore because of climate change. Nowadays you would do like a drone show. I really don't know what else to say except that I would rather go play Tetris or Bust a Move. Or anything else really. Mostly because I even wanted to learn how to play, probably because I just press buttons, so I picked the tutorial, but it's doing the biggest mistake a tutorial can do. Being a video instead of a text and letting you play yourself. I went into the tutorial and the announcer is slowly babbling his bullshit and he said something about pressing buttons, so I pressed X and the tutorial ended. So I would have had to waste 2 minutes of my life again to hear the slow announcer go back to the part I was at. This wasn't even my fault. I often give myself the fault, but not this time. A tutorial shouldn't be a video. A tutorial should be the player doing shit himself while he gets told what to do. So this kind of stuff can't happen. Even if I knew how to perfectly play the game, I would still not find the fun of it though. The same goes for Kessen. I'm happy that the producer of it was so proud of it that he wrote this letter to the player himself and wanted to include a joke about how this was foreshadowing how Sony one day will only do movie games, and with this I still included it, but I must kneel to this fella. He loves his Three Kingdoms and Nobunaga games above anything else. A bit of Genghis Khan too sprinkled in. He also worked on the Neo games and I love how this taught me he voice acted Nobunaga in the first game, which is kinda sick. I think he deserved that. Imagine your whole life you work on games about your love for Chinese and Japanese history and then you get to be the guy that people know from ancient Japan. You probably already noticed that I'm not saying anything about the actual game, and well, what can I say? I could find enjoyment in it if it was more like Age of Empires, but this kind of strategy, I'm way too easily bored of those, and maybe also a bit too stupid. It made me want to stick my finger up my nose to dig for some oil. You know what else needs oil? Cars. That's why Rockstar Games was like, fuck it, let's make Angel Studios release 2 car games on the same day. Nowadays they only release a single game per console generation. The first Midnight Club is a bit like the Time Splitter situation. The first game isn't bad, but nowadays why should you play it when you can play one of the superior sequels? But for this video I went back in time after all, so it would have been my pick if I wanted a somewhat open world racing game that plays in a big city, even if it's not that big. That's what I always have to hear too. At least it can get hard, like the game, mostly because the cars at the beginning feel a bit stiff. Sorry for describing it like this, but I can't think of better words than hard and stiff. It also felt like the AI was strictly programmed to always take the same path, because at this part it would always go bang into the standing truck thingy. Not like I mind, because then I can pass him. But I felt a bit mean trying to push it off the road, because it always felt like they would get scolded if they don't take the exact same way. The other one is Smugglers 1, a car game aimed at people like me who sometimes enjoy driving a car over a world that feels free and inviting for you, unlike the real world. See that mountain over there? You are allowed to drive it up and then jump off. I wish there would be mountains around me, so I can climb them but not jump off of them, I think. And having a sassy black woman talking right into my ears, like this game. It's just fun to hit the gas pedal, can I say this as a German, and race around without a worry or ever hitting the brakes. Even if you should hit them maybe. Or else you may end up on your back like a turtle and die. If you see a turtle like that, please turn it around. Now the question is, how many turtles do you see in your life? I would assume it's not too many. Despite not being a racist, I think this is the kind of racing game I could have played for hours as a kid. Gun Griffin Blaze is like the total opposite of Armored Core 2. You can jump straight into the game without any worries of sucking at it. You will suck at first, but it does not matter. You don't get punished for it here. Since in Armored Core, when you get beaten up, you have to pay a lot of money to get it repaired. And buy new parts and all that, while here you get it shoved up your butt. I love how when you make your character who has no body or face, so it kinda doesn't matter, the IQ stat starts at 47. Why? Why such a random low number? Wouldn't you want to go with a more average one like 100? I should have kept it that low, but I wanted to put my real data in. Actually, I do not know my side or blood type. But I know my IQ isn't that low. Or high. Isn't that what we all want to do in a big mecha? Shooting rockets, grenades, missiles, machine guns. It's the dream of every man to pilot a mecha. Even Shinji at times must have thought, whoa, this isn't so bad actually. Hopefully. I know that space shuttles often have dumb names, but who names theirs Duck? Not even like Duck from that bad comic show back in the day, but like the inferior chicken, the duck. I really do not like duck meat. Chickens clear them so hard it's not even funny. Chicken meat is like the only meat I could never stop eating. Like I could be a vegan, but chicken tastes too good, even if they're cute. I can't help it. This was probably the perfect game for people who wanted a more casual mecha experience without spending 3 work days to try to get the perfect mecha down before they get it blown up and have to become a prostitute to pay off the debt. Dynasty Warriors 2, the first one that plays like how you nowadays expect them to play. Did you know the very first one was a normal fighting game? I even owned that since one day my dad came home, not relatable to others, and his co-worker gave him a bunch of old PlayStation 1 games he didn't need it anymore, so he got me them. Never actually played it though. Since today you learn that I'm trash at fighting games, regardless of how hard I try. I do enjoy these kind of games when they are pure fan service like the first Hyrule Warriors, the only good game of them. Like in regards to Hyrule Warriors, the other two can go into the cut corner because they are showing the problem with modern Zelda the best. I will not elaborate on this. But when it comes to normal Dynasty Warriors, I'm not qualified enough for this. You beat up people, yep, as old famous Japanese and Chinese history people. Did you know these battles actually took place in ancient Japan? Sadly without any oversized crabs, or maybe some of these warrior games have oversized crabs, I don't know. Whenever I play a billiard game, which does not happen often unless we are talking about Monkey Billiard from Monkey Ball, I try to just slam the balls into the holes as hard as I can. I think my desire for that comes from watching the Weekenders back in the day, where in the intro the nerdy girl hits them all in with a single shot. I had the biggest crush on Laura as a kid. I think she was my awakening to tomboys. Every single day I laid in bed and wished I had a tomboy friend like her. Playing video games, eating pizza and doing the typical stuff you do as kids. But I never was able to get a single tomboy friend in my life. Now it's too late for me. Sometimes things are truly over before they ever began. What more can I say? You saw me play billiard in the background. I wish I could play like this in real life, but then people would think I'm a psychopath. I can be trusted, I swear. But I can't be trusted with a K. I think that's how we Germans say, like K, you take the K to hit the balls, but it's a weird word, isn't it? Like look at the ending like of the file name sometimes too. When you emulate like a PlayStation 1 game, it's also a Q file or like Q file, I don't even know. I have to be honest, I was burning a bit out on playing all of these games. The order of the games in the video is randomized since it would be lame to keep all the good stuff for the beginning or end. But I kept many of the ones I didn't want to play towards the end when playing them, and that's why I picked the easy difficulty for X Squad, but I think it helped me to kinda enjoy my time with it, somehow. Just running into every room and shooting everyone while feeling I can't die because I one-shot everyone and they almost do no damage. All I could think of when playing this was some kind of low-budget Perfect Dark in third person, mostly because of the green stuff that appears around enemies. It made me think of a fake game that you would normally see being played on a sitcom. The glossy feel of it, how everything looks a bit shiny while being the most generic levels ever. I shit you not, I looked up a long play because I wanted to see how the levels change later on, and all of them were some kind of sewer or factory setting. The most exciting thing I can say about this is that the first boss is some kind of Nazi, I would assume because of his uniform, and he uses a Flammenwerfer. We Germans invented the flamethrower after all. Am I even a real German if I never used one? I don't drink beer, I can't yodel, and also I don't wear lederhosen. What kind of German am I really? I can't do anything right. The wall animation in this game also looks a bit funny. That's all I can really say, except that I was very disappointed that I bought the flamethrower and I thought if I equip it on the girl I can play as the girl, but it's only my AI companion. I can't control the Flammenwerfer now. I bought it for her, but I want to use it. I think the newer generation has never played a normal ESPN track and field game before, or maybe also without the ESPN in front of it, since Sonic and Mario had the monopoly on that genre for a long time. And it makes him way more interesting since this is just kinda boring. I really do not care about the Olympics, or button mashing without Mario or Sonic. Especially since this game lacks content and you would expect more. It has all the basics but no horse riding, no football and other more fun modes. Something was also wrong with my controller because I can assure you, I know how to press a single button to jump. I wouldn't run into these normally, I swear. Or maybe I don't, maybe I wanted to see my character suffer. There is zero appeal for me here, unlike the next game because I love snow, not the cocaine one. ESPN also had this snowboarding game and it's, well, not good at all. Sometimes you can look at the footage of a game and you know it does not control well. This is one of those cases, please believe me. I often give myself the blame for sucking, but this controlled like absolute suffering and I know how that feels like a lot. When going downhill and also trying to go uphill, because that is impossible, you can't go up. Normally that isn't important in a snowboarding game since you always go down, but if you pick the snowboarder mode, you start in front of your launch and I couldn't go up anywhere. I tried going to any lift around me, but my snowboarder was impossible to move upwards. Maybe this was a total DSP move for me and maybe you're not even supposed to roam around here. Just go into the launch or something, but you can't go up, you will always go down. But then you go down and you can go up there and you are stuck in the middle here. I couldn't move. Luckily on the very same day there also was the first SSX, which is fun. I feel bad for every person who got the ESPN snowboarding game instead of this. Nowadays everyone knows SSX is one of the best snowboarding franchises within pieces, but back then they maybe thought the ESPN name would stand for quality in comparison to something fresh. You can feel this wasn't as fluid as Tricky or 3 yet, but it's still fun, except that they make you do the same track 3 times in a row. Normally you expect to be put onto a different stage when you have won a race, but no, you get to play it again, and if you lose on the final race, you go back to the very first one on the very same stage. So you better not lose like I did in the race that actually mattered. I have covered the Sniper 1 before, a sniper game, who could have guessed, that feels like it was made for a console. Sun and Scope was also made for consoles, or how else would I have played it, but not firstly, because it's an arcade game that you are supposed to play like this, with a big ass sniper rifle. So even if I would have used a light gun to play this on an emulator, I would have gotten the inferior version, but at least it would have been better, you know, kinda, because sniper rifle. It's not impossible to do this with a controller, but some sections just scream for you to have an actual gun. Look at this highway chase, the camera jerks to the right and left so fast that with a controller it's almost impossible to quickly aim again to get a nice time bonus. It's still fun for how campy the story is because this president must suck. There's so many big gangsters going for him and the whole city is gunning for him, with the Secret Service not doing their job at all, unlike you because you're the sniper. Unless you want to snipe the president or his daughter. Or maybe you're distracted by all the bikini babes in each stage to get an extra life. Apparently the Xbox version had a special sniper light gun in them. We Xbros can't stop winning. I never owned an Xbox. I will now buy this. That's how you were meant to play this game. Orphan is an anime I have never watched before and also never read the manga. Did the game make me want to check it out? Maybe, since the game was kinda cool, except that in the beginning it loves to interrupt you every 3 seconds. Don't give me control of my character for 5 steps before you make me get stuck in a cutscene over and over. Luckily it has that delicious old school anime feel to it to make me feel young again. Look at this dude. That bandana just screams 90s anime MC. Anime will never be this cool again. Normally you would expect this to play like a normal JRPG or action RPG, but there's like 2 types of combat systems, at least in the beginning of what I played. Simple enemies can be slashed down with a button press and your sword, but when the game thinks that these enemies deserve a bigger, cooler fight, then it changes into a weird mishmash that kinda reminds me of a shmup, but also not really. You have to avoid the enemy attacks with your shield move while trying out your different magic to see what works best against them and can aim at different parts like blowing up boxes or just hitting the crabs normally. Pretty cinematic. And this fight against the Leviathan would have been mighty impressive to me as a kid if I got this as a launch title. You even get to do jump and run stuff like trying to avoid traps or jumping around moving platforms. This, Eternal Ring and Evergrace are probably the 3 standout games that made me think I want to play more. After such a fun game, it's time to go back into the minds of games that made me moan in a bad way. Why did I think fitting 29 games into a video is a good idea, or playing so many? Obviously it's kinda obvious that most of them would be a bit not so good, or not appealing to me like MotoGP. I think motorbikes are really cool and that's all I can say, except that the physics here are very noob friendly to people like me. Normally you should fall off your bike and the asphalt would rip off your whole face without a helmet, but I tried as hard as I could to fall off the bike just for it to not happen. It won't allow you to fall off, unless you smash right into a wall at high speed, but who would suck that much at the game for this to happen? My mom owns a motorbike and as a kid I often drove on it with her, and nowadays I would never do that again because they scare me too much. Like the only safety you got is holding onto the back handles or wrapping your arms around the person in front. Obviously you don't just randomly fall off if you let go, but still, why did I become such a pussy later on in my life? Summon Up probably isn't a bad game, but it felt just boring. Who doesn't love the generic plot start of the main character's village getting attacked? Oh, wait, actually, one of my favorite JRPGs ever starts like that. I'm not allowed to talk badly about that part, so, well, I don't like the way the guy looks at me in the portrait. Almost like he's staring into my soul. Please don't look at me. I'm supposed to be the one looking at you. Even if I don't want to. I have a mighty need to yawn. The combat is automatic, but at least you get also actions like pushing if you time your button press right. So there is some kind of player input if you want to. Till the big guy with a big hammer will just stun lock you into oblivion. The best thing I can say about the game is that you can press on the credits right from the start and it shows you a little cutscene of the main guy playing D&D with the big baddie, I think, and one of his friends, and a random space guy who is from Red Faction, because the credits say it's Red Faction and I would think he fits into that mod in here. I would recommend looking up the full scene on YouTube. It actually did make me smile and even giggle. I like the actual game. It's probably not as bad as I describe it, but well. Finally, last and least, there was also Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. I could have grouped it with the other fighting games, but this is not a fighting game, it's a boxing game. Very different. This game made me experience how it feels like to be a British woman who is married to a British guy whenever the national team of England loses a match. I got my shit rocked. Because how is it fair that I have to fight against Shaq? He already got to train himself in martial arts in Shaq Fu, and now he's also here to beat up little old me? I mostly pick Lulu because she's the same height as me, even though she weighs more than me because of two big reasons. So I switched to Hawk Tuah. I wish I were American so I could buy a shotgun to blow my head off. Still got on though, because if I ever had to play a boxing game, I would just play one of the Hajime no Ippo ones. An anime I could easily recommend to anyone. I have nothing to do with boxing, but one day I decided to watch it in like 2009 and watched all the episodes in around 4 days. I miss being young. You have to love it even if you're not into boxing. And that wraps up all 29 launch games for us here in the West. Some surprises, but also a lot of not for me stuff. I guess this is also the part where I can now beg you to tell me your experience with the launch of the PS2 if you were old enough. I hope you were. I don't know the average age of my viewers since I hate looking at numbers, so I will never know. Your age is safe with me, I think. Personally, I didn't have a PlayStation 2 till around 2004, and at that point I already read gaming magazines, so I knew which games to avoid and all that. So I never ended up with a truly bad game, luckily. But I'm sure at least one person here looked at something like Kessen and thought, wow, holy shit, this is gonna be epic, just to end up with you using it as a sleeping pill. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good day, a good night, or whatever fits your time zone. At the end of each video, I always have to add some information about myself, and the first console I ever had for launch was the Wii. Not totally at launch, but I got it for Christmas in 2006. Yeah, that's all. Bye bye.